As Class 1A's self-proclaimed undercover therapy cat, you took it upon yourself to comfort your fellow classmates in need, and with the constant chaos that happened to surround UA, you found that particular need to be quite substantial. Not that you minded. You were always willing to help a friend, and if you were able to do so by taking advantage of humans' natural boost in oxytocin while engaging with a dog or cat, so be it. Plus, you couldn't deny the neck rubs and ear scratches you received while in animal form were a nice bonus. As the sky darkened to a deep twilight, you took the cue to head back to the dorms after wandering around campus, when you spotted a familiar head of polychromatic hair sitting atop his veranda. What's he doing up so late? Curious, you shifted into the more discreet form of a cat and climbed the ledges of your classmates' balconies until you reached the 5th level. Todoroki was resting his elbows against the railing as he looked out into the campus with his head in his hands. To the untrained eye, one might see him and think nothing was wrong, but with your close proximity and heightened sight, the darkness under his eyes and the wrinkles along his normally ironed school shirt were as clear as day. Todoroki looked tired. You inched closer, slowly, torn between letting him have his space and the overwhelming urge to smooth his worries away. However, it turned out that wasn't a decision you had to make for yourself. In the split second you landed on the balcony next to him, he instantly straightened and turned his head towards the soft patter of your paws, eyes locking on your dilated pupils. You froze. A cat? Todoroki mused. You made a move in retreat when a soft murmur came from his lips. Slowly extending his hand, palm down, he gestured you over, and you cautiously obliged. Don't be scared, Neko-chan. Now, although you liked to think you were in control of yourself when you transformed into an animal, there were times you had to admit the animal's instincts were strong enough to test your resolve, and in cat form, the moment you felt the gentle rub of fingers underneath your chin, your resolve flew out the window, instead taken over by the urge to flutter your eyes shut and mew. When his hands shifted from under your chin to cupping your face and rubbing your ears, you couldn't help it. A purr of contentment left the back of your throat as you stretched. Peering up at him, you caught a small smile playing on Todoroki's lips. You hummed to yourself. Good. Your job as a therapy cat had never once failed, and you were glad Todoroki was no exception. He rubbed his knuckle against the tops of your ear. You felt yourself melt against the warmth of his hand, with all thoughts momentarily leaving you. I've never had a pet before, said Todoroki, continuing his absent-minded attack against your senses. My father said animals, especially those we grow an attachment to, are a mere distraction. You made a noise of indignation, brows furrowing as you thought of giving Endeavor a piece of your mind. He huffed in what you thought was a sound of amusement before smoothing out the wrinkle in your forehead. Endeavor was tyrannical like that. He didn't exactly care for what I wanted, only what he thought his optimal tool needed. With wide eyes, you blinked up at him. Todoroki had a hardened look on his face as he stared out at the veranda. Slowly, he moved you closer to his chest, cradling you with one arm while stroking your tail with the other. You expected his torso to feel warm, despite his lack of proper clothing because of his quirk, but he felt surprisingly cold. Todoroki's quirk may be half cold, half hot, but you could understand how regulating his body temperature when fatigued and distracted could be difficult. Get some rest, you wanted to say while smothering him in blankets. Instead, you wriggled your way out of his arms and leaped onto the floor, pulling at the leg of his pants with sharp teeth. When he glanced down at you, you tugged the fabric in the direction of his dorm, quickly releasing him and stalking over to the sliding doors. You want to go inside? Said Todoroki, picking you up and entering his room. You're a pushy little kitten, you know. Cat, not kitten, you thought crossly. It took a lot of work for you to grow from a kitten to a cat. You bristled in his arms, mildly insulted. He walked over to his futon and leaned against the wall, the whole time scratching the top of your head with small movements of his fingers. Your earlier irritation melted away as Todoroki gave you a pat. For someone who had never had a pet, he was quite good with animals. I never knew how relaxing this could be, he said as he toyed with the ends of your raised ears. Midoriya told me this helped to relieve stress, but I didn't expect it to be this effective. Yes, the undercover therapy cat strikes again. You sighed in contentment. His deep voice and constant stroking was almost enough to put you to sleep. A few minutes of silence passed, and you could feel Todoroki's breathing slow into a steadier pace. You thought he dozed off when he remarked, "My father said he's trying to be better." Your ears flattened. Todoroki had never confided in you, human you, about his family before. What if he found out the cat was you and resented you for it? "Ever since All Might retired, Endeavor has been trying to be an actual dad to my siblings and I can see he is really doing his best." He leaned his head against the wall with a slow exhale. "But sometimes I wonder if I can ever really forgive him." Burrowing your cheek against his chest, he mewed. "You don't ever have to forgive him," you were trying to say. But you knew, given time, he would. Despite his aloof exterior, Todoroki had a big heart. He was fierce and loyal and cared deeply for those he trusted. That was something you always admired about him. If only you had the courage to tell him that in person, and not as a cat. "I know I should forgive him." "No, you don't, but part of me doesn't want to. My older sister is optimistic about the change, but I can't help but wonder if she really thinks Endeavor will change or if she's just holding on with the hope of finally being a family." Todoroki pushes his bangs out of his face, causing his hair to look slightly disheveled. "I want to be a family too," he admitted. "It can be lonely without one." Your heart broke at his words. You couldn't imagine life without your family. No matter how much they got on your nerves, you knew they would always love you. You wanted Todoroki to know that he deserved to feel worthy of that love himself. He sent a look in your direction, as if he could sense your shift in thoughts. Apologies, Neko-chan. I hope I didn't hurt your ears by talking too much." Todoroki ran your left ear between his middle and index finger as you leaned against him. From his sitting position, he slouched into his pillows as he laid down. You snuggled against his arms. "I normally don't chatter off like this. You seem trustworthy. Thank you for listening." And as Todoroki dozed off, you couldn't help but feel guilty for accidentally finding out all those things about him. You expected a quick snuggle and a pet, and he'd feel better and soon let you go, which was the typical routine when your other classmates saw you, without knowing it was you, as a cat. You didn't think he would actually make substantial conversation. Worried with guilt gnawing at your stomach, you slipped out from his embrace and hopped off the futon. You would have to tell him the truth, you decided, even if it meant your undercover gig would be up. Tomorrow. Right now, Todoroki looked peaceful, and you knew he needed to rest. Quickly switching back to your normal human form, you pulled the covers over a sleeping Todoroki and bade him a smile goodnight before slipping out of his room. You would tell him the cat he poured his secrets to was you. Tomorrow. "Are you sure this apology gift is good enough?" you asked Yuraraka, wringing your hands as she examined the freshly baked brownies in a decorated gift wrap. Wiping away the crumbs from her face, she nodded feverishly. "Better than good enough. They taste amazing!" You smiled in gratitude. After thinking all night about how to comfort Todoroki, you decided an apology with a gift would be best. Plus, you did recall him taking a particular liking to your mom's fudge brownies that you shared with your friends once during lunch. There was no way you could go wrong with a rich, chocolatey treat. "You should really bake apology treats more often," said Yuraraka, eyes lighting up when you offered her another corner piece that didn't fit into the gift bag. "I'm glad you like them," you said with a small laugh. "I hope Todoroki will think they're okay." She responded with an enthusiastic affirmation you couldn't quite decipher with the food in her mouth. When she finished the piece, she tried again. "He'll love them! Whatever you're apologizing to him for is sure to be forgiven with these brownies. I know it." Though Yuraraka's certainty brought a great deal of comfort to your endless worry, nerves still festered in your stomach. Cleaning up the last of the mess from your baking escapade, you thanked Otaka once again for trying the brownies and gathered the courage to head up to the boys' side of the 5th floor. "Stop fretting!" she called as you two neared the opposite elevators. "Todoroki values your friendship too much to let anything come between it. There's no need to worry. I hope you're right. You bit the inside of your lip as you carefully smoothed out the already pristine gift bag. Thank you, Ochako. She waved you off as the elevator door began to shut. Oh, please. All I did was try what you made. This was all you. Now go make up with Shoto-kun. He sent her a thumbs up and a grin before pressing the button to the 5th floor on the control panel, hoping the momentary confident boost from Yoraraka's words would last. Taking a deep breath as the elevator door dinged open, you walked down the hall to the 3rd room down and knocked on Todoroki's door. You really hoped he liked the brownies. You heard footsteps getting louder, and you tried to ignore the way your stomach churned when the door cracked open. Hi? Hi, Todoroki, you said with a small smile. Do you have a moment to talk? He tilted his head to the side in confusion, but opened the door wider to allow you in. Of course. Is something troubling you? Walking inside, he led you to the mat on the side of the floor and sat down. When you stayed back near the doorway, Todoroki looked back with slightly furrowed eyebrows. Are you okay? Shaking your head, you brought yourself out of your thoughts and followed behind him. Sorry, You fumbled with the gift bag in your hands before extending your arms to him, brownies resting in your palms as you bowed your head. I made you something. You could have sworn you felt the temperature in the room rise, but you were too afraid to look up and check. You made me something? Said Todoroki, quietly. You nodded, bracing a look at his face. Your expression instantly softened. His gaze was locked on the baked goods, with his hand raised slightly near his side, almost unsure of what to do. They're brownies. I remember you liked the ones I brought from home, so I asked my mom for the recipe, you said, fighting off the blush that was creeping up your cheeks when you noticed Todoroki's unwavering stare. They might not taste that great, and they might be a little—
Thank you.
You blinked, startled at his firm tone.
It means a lot to me.
Oh! This time, attempting to stop the heat from spreading was futile. I'm glad. Slowly, he took the gift from your hands, the tip of his pinky brushing against the center of your palm. You both jolted at the spark. With his face still tinged a shade of pink, Todoroki was the first to recover. You said you wanted to talk? He asked. His voice was raised an octave. Right. I wanted to apologize, actually. He set the brownies on his work desk with gentle care. When satisfied, he turned back to you. Apologize? Todoroki repeated. What for? You shuffled your feet, playing with the loose thread in your skirt. I've been keeping something from you. His mouth opened, scratching the back of your neck. You continued. Well, I suppose I've been keeping something from all of you guys. Your eyes darted around the perimeter of his room. I didn't think it was a bad thing. I was only trying to help, but then I heard some things I wasn't meant to, and I realized that maybe I was overstepping on people's boundaries, and— You broke off at Todoroki's confused look, taking a deep breath to catch your thoughts. Remember that cat from last night? You tried again, only this time, hopefully, much more coherent. Yes, he said with a slow nod. Well, that cat was me. Todoroki blinked. I didn't mean to trick you or anything. I was just walking around campus trying not to get caught, and I saw you on your veranda and you looked so sad, you blurted, staring at him with wide eyes. I just wanted to help you feel better, and what better way to do that than let you pet a cat? I mean, everyone feels better after petting a cat. That's what my mom tells me, at least, and our classmates seem to agree, though none of them know it was me as a cat, but now you do, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I hope you can forgive me. Sucking in your breath after your long-winded monologue, you waited tensely for his reply. I already know. I know I should have told you before, and You paused, your brain registering what he just said. You know? Todoroki nodded. You know what, exactly? That you've been acting as Class A's therapy cat, he said. I'd had my suspicions at least, but you confirmed them all just now. But you were at a loss for words. He knew? You knew? Todoroki paced over to his windows and leaned against him. I had a feeling the cat wasn't a real cat. Not fully, anyway. and since not many students here have quirks that allow them to shapeshift, you were the only one that made sense. You followed his movements with your gaze, looking away when he looked up. You knew the cat was me, you murmured, peering at him through your lashes. And you still chose to confide in it? Of course. Todoroki loosened the cufflink to his uniform. There was never a need to apologize. As I told you before, I think you're trustworthy. It doesn't matter if you're in a cat form or not. He paused. I trust you. A shy smile made your way onto his face as you met his gaze across the room. I trust you too, Shoto-kun. His expression matched yours. Thank you. The two of you settled into a comfortable silence as you thought briefly about that night. He told you about his family and his worries. You, not just cat you, because he trusted you. That thought sent an odd flutter to your stomach. Wait, when we cuddled, you said, with heated cheeks, you knew it was me? Todoroki's level of flames on his face challenged your own, but his were just slightly more visible. I suppose I did. He hesitated. Is that okay? You grinned. More than okay. That's good. There was a short beat. Then, would you like to share the brownies sometime? Surprised, you glanced over at your apology gift on Todoroki's table. Thank you, but I'm okay, you said, waving him off. I ate plenty of batter and extra pieces while preparing them for you. I won't be able to eat another brownie for weeks. His face fell before giving you a shrug. Oh, that's too bad. Maybe we could get some food to eat instead? Did he not want the brownies? You fretted. You nodded adamantly, shaking off the thought. What mattered was he accepted your apology, and that he was never mad in the first place. Sure. Midoriya, Ayama, and I were going to head to the dining halls around 7 if you wanted to join. Todoroki blinked once. Then again, his hair falling in front of his eyes. No, I meant eat somewhere else, he queried. Maybe not today, but perhaps this weekend? It could be just you and me, if that's okay with you. You quirked your head to the side. Was he trying to... Shoto-kun, you said, trying to hide the mixture of amusement and happiness bubbling in your chest. Are you asking me to go on a date with you? Todoroki exhaled a small cloud of frost, sounding almost relieved at your words. I'm trying to, yes. Within a split second, he appeared in front of you, leaning down so he was eye level with your gaze. Will you go on a date with me? Yes! You beamed, having this sudden urge to jump around the room. Of course, I would love to! His eyes fluttered shut before giving you a dimpled grin of his own. We could even go to a cat cafe, you teased, shifting into a cat running between his legs while you slipped between his fingers. Laughing at the look on his face, you turned back into a human. But as long as you don't get tempted by any other felines. Todoroki shook his head, traces of a smile lighting up his face as his hand finally found yours. Don't worry, Neko-chan. The only one I can be tempted by is you. You quirked your head to the side. Quirked. And what better way to— Oop, I tapped the mic. Damn it. Saw you were in a— Oh, damn it. His elbows against the railing as he looked blip, 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 as he looked up into the blip, 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 blip. And Todoroki said, blip, 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 blip. That doesn't even make sense. I can't help but wonder if she's really— And we were getting so dramatic too, damn it. In the split second, you landed on the balcony neck of the balcony. Frick. We're losing it, kids. We're losing it. You felt yourself melt against the blip, blip, blip. What's my Todoroki voice? It's like a Bakugo, but less brassy and less angry. Which was wishy-wash. What? Oh, that's so cute. Your baked-in brownies. That's adorable. That's adorable. You walk down the hall to the You walk down the hall to the Raka. Sure to be forgiven to a brownies. Nailed it. I just want a significant other that I can bake brownies for. Yo, they're back. The momentary confident boost from your Raka. You walk down the hall to the. Why can't I say that? I wonder if I blink. Can you hear me blinking? Let's try. Will you marry me? Ha! You thought it's not that kind of fiction. Yo, I sat next to my godfather at a party yesterday and he had bronchitis. If I get bronchitis, yo, I just want to be able to date somebody and bake brownies for them, man. Where was I? My eyes were closed, so I lost my spot. Don't close your eyes and read. It's not a good idea. Yeah. Where was I? Brownies. Sounds like a good idea. Bronchitis. Yo, is that boy? Hey kids, you're worthy of love. Just thought I'd remind you.